Hi, it's Brooklyn here, and I am doing my third week in my learning project of crocheting. So I'm going to quickly recap what I learned last week, and then we'll get into completing a whole square, which is just a couple of consecutive chains after another. So I chose different yarn than I had last week. This was my finished project from last week. I had this white yarn and I used a different hook as well. I changed it up because this yarn is easier to see. It doesn't have all that excess fluffy kind of material in there where it's hard to see what is the whole piece. So I just switched that up and had a larger hook as well, which is easier to use, I find. So we're going to start by creating our first knot. And just like that, we have our first knot. And then we're going to put our hook through there nice and snug. And I will show you how to hold it as well. We went underneath over the finger like that, and then tighten it onto the hook just like that. So then you're just going to go under, over, and then through that bottom one. If you can kind of see it there, you're going to go through this bottom one right there. And as long as it doesn't get too tight around the hook, it's easier to move around. So you can do it fairly quickly. The first one isn't really too difficult, I find. It's once you start adding other chains to other chains, which becomes a little bit more difficult. So this will give you your first chain, and then you'll have something that looks a little bit like this. And then we're going to recap on the video on how to continue on to a next chain up top. So we will switch on to that, and then I can show you, because it was definitely the hardest thing I had to practice this week. I was finding it very difficult to get in between these grooves and to know which one it was. So we'll quickly recap on what I found the most difficult thing this week was, and then we will continue on completing a whole square. So I completed my first square, as you can see. I clearly was getting smaller and smaller with the stitching as it went on, and that's why it kind of goes like a pyramid shape, but not really. So I think it's really important probably for next time to learn how to have consistent loops. So like if there's 10, you keep going 10 and 10 and 10, or you'll start getting misformed and shaped objects or items that you're trying to create. But for the first time doing it, I would say it's fairly successful. I definitely need to work on this, and I think next week I will try to maybe do her next video. She has a couple of them. She's a part 1 and part 2 of beginning crocheting. So let's see what she has to offer on her second video, and we will go from there. So thank you for watching, and hopefully next week we can do something else.